This is the Equid E-Commerce Show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard O'Tay.
Happy Friday, Richie.
Happy Friday, Jess. God, they fly by.
They sure do. It's another social distancing, e-commerce happy hour, I guess. The reason I mentioned the happy hour, actually, I was kind of jumping ahead here because, we always talk about the idea of this show is that if we were at happy hour talking to other entrepreneurs about e-commerce and about strategy, that's what we like to do. So that's why I'm pumped about today's show. So
yeah, because we have another fellow podcaster with us today. This is going to be good. Plus, she really likes getting into the strategy and the psychology of it. And, we sometimes get a little lost in tactics. So it's going to be interesting to get to learn from her today.
Yeah. So for people out there listening, if you're ready for some social media strategy, just e-commerce strategy in general, let's bring in our guest. Today's guest is Traci Reuter, the founder and CEO of Divine Social. And also, I hinted at it, the co-host of the Social Media Marketing Happy Hour podcast. Traci, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. And it is Friday, of course. So, it's happy hour day, a little early in the West Coast, but yeah. So,
well, I'm on the East Coast, so it's pretty darn close to happy hour right now.
Okay.
I've listened to your show. I sometimes wonder if happy hour is going on anytime.
Well, just as a side note, we have only ever, we've been live at an actual happy hour one time. And then another time we actually did drink quite a bit of wine. But that's it for the entire 400 episodes. They've all been with water or smoothies or something healthy.
That's good. All right. So we won't get lost down the rabbit hole for people that are trying to figure out how to get
what we're talking about. Yeah.
So one of the things, a lot of Equid customers are just getting started. Now we have plenty that are making thousands, hundreds of thousands, and some that are even into the millions. But what we'd really love to learn from you is just maybe the way they should be looking at social in general, and then we'll get into how that can turn into ads, but just how they should be thinking about their customers and the customer journey.
Yeah. I'd love talking about that. So our agency, I co-host the Social Media Marketing Happy Hour, but my agency is actually paid social. So we focus on paid ads on all the different social platforms. The biggest, of course, being, Facebook and Instagram. And some days we wish that wasn't the case, especially lately. I think every day my whole team feels like Facebook hates us. But it's not entirely true. We're just a little bit dramatic, right? So it's hard when you're in marketing and you're trying to make a living on some of these platforms, especially right now. But the conversation always comes up, like, how does social play into paid social, and how does it all work, and does it matter? And if we're going to talk Facebook specifically, Facebook and Instagram, it absolutely does matter. And I've done several videos on our YouTube channel talking about being a good social citizen and how that plays into your actual ad success. And so, we can talk about that, because being a good social citizen does play into the customer journey. It's about providing value, putting out content that people really care about, showing up on a regular basis, like just being, even if you're a company, being a good human, being a good human and using social that way, it actually really will impact the success of your ads once you really want to start scaling them.
Yeah, I love that you say it like that, like being a good human, because sometimes when people mention like add value, sometimes it's hard to get your mind around, what does that actually mean? Does that mean I'm supposed to be sitting there with a whiteboard and like, okay, here's how you use it. And here's, you know what I mean? Like you're a teacher adding all this immense value, where sometimes adding value is just, wow, there's other good people out there doing good things.
Or making somebody laugh. I think about one of our biggest clients. We were just, we're getting ready to launch TikTok ads for them. And they've been having really great organic success with TikTok. And the majority, they're an e-commerce brand in the arts and crafts space. So like if you walk into Michael's or Hobby Lobby, you're going to see them. And one of their best videos, one of the best videos they have in their TikTok feed is just, it's hilarious. It's just funny. It's not a product demonstration. They're not selling anything. It's just really, really funny. And sometimes we have to know that it's okay. Like not every single post. Now it's different when we're talking about putting money behind it, right? But every single organic post doesn't have to be like, you don't have to hit a home run with it. You don't have to like try to get an Academy Award with every post you put out. You just have to be human sometimes. And I thought when I saw that the other day, I got stuck watching it because it just cracked me up. And sometimes we just need that like more than ever right now.
Yeah, no, that's great. It sounds like a low bar, just be human, right? But,
yeah.
but like be a good human. Okay. Yeah. And now you're on social media and everybody has a social media profile of their own. So what do you want to share? Okay. Yeah. There's the baby pictures and stuff like that, but like share good things and make people laugh, be who you are. And that's a good place to start. So if you're listening, do some good stuff on social. Yeah. Start there. Be a good human.
And part of the reason I say that is because there are a lot of people that, we're all entrepreneurs. We're all business owners. We are not running non-for-profits. So like, I think we can all agree we're here to make a profit, right? We have to be profitable. And I have a client. I love this. Their philosophy in their company, they have 3, they call them the triple bottom line. The first one is to make an impact. It's how many people can they reach and impact with their message. They sell books. They do have books, so they're not a traditional e-commerce, but they have e-commerce as well as info products. But number one, bottom line is how many people can we impact? Number 2 is what's our profit? Like how profitable can we be? And number 3, which I love this, is how shiny are the eyes of our team? Basically what that means is if they impact people and they make a profit and everybody around them is burnt out and run into the ground, they're not successful. And so, a lot of times we go into our marketing, like we're so much pressure to win and succeed and to be profitable that we almost become a little manipulative in our social posts because we're trying to squeeze out as much juice from every lemon as possible. When if we could just take a deep breath and, keep that first, like, let's just show up like a good human. And that's actually one of the things, a qualifying point to work with us is you have to be a good human or we pass. Because there's a lot of that, right? We saw that this last several months with, what's happened in the world with people like all of a sudden are running, funnels for, hand sanitizer to try to, it's just stupid. Like, you could argue with me that you were trying to serve the greater good, but let's be honest, like we were just trying to make a buck, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, and not that there's anything wrong with it. We all want to make money. We just want to show up well.
Well, especially right now in the direct to consumer world, you can do things. We've talked about Amazon on this show, and I know you know about Amazon as well. And why not be in all places if you can, like be in front of your customers as many times as you possibly can. But we want to do and be what gigantic corporations are afraid to do, right?
Yeah.
Like we can actually be human beings. We don't have to be this big corporation behind a board. And so, being human making people laugh, they don't have to be afraid of that stuff. It not only will it make them appear more human to other people, but we need laughs right now. There's a lot going on that people, feeling human makes them connect and makes them want to buy with you even more or buy from you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And the storytelling, now is the best time ever to start telling stories that, excuse me, Amazon can't tell that story. They can't tell those things. And, I am fully, guilty of, I've got my Prime account that's hot and on fire on a regular basis. I every day I'm like, gosh, I got to stop. I got to break that habit because, Amazon, we've worked with so many businesses that build their entire company on Amazon and they don't own the customer relationship. And if you don't own the customer relationship, you don't own the customer journey. You can't control it. You can't guide it. You can't direct it. You can't be a good human in it. And so like, I know I'm constantly trying to be mindful, like, okay, can I go, and I'm starting to do this. It took this virus to make me do this, where I stop and go, let me go find their website. Let me go see if I can buy direct from their website and, stop this madness with the blue truck.
So someone's sitting there right now and they're starting their e-commerce store and they're like, well, they're listening to the Equid podcast show or the Equid e-commerce show. And they they say, wow, this sounds great. I just be a good human, make people laugh. What's the strategy? Like, when they break out their whiteboard and they somewhat think out as a group, what is our social media strategy and how does paid relate to organic? How should they be thinking?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first thing is, and I think we're alluding to it, is, start it by building your store. I can't stress that enough. Like, start by building your own store and really resist the temptation to get that, easy traffic from some of these big. I mean, we could do a whole show on that, right? So the strategy, here's how we break it out. And this is, it's actually a methodology we've been using for the last 5 years. And I call it the 3 pillars to successful social ads, but it can apply to organic social. It can apply to most of your marketing. You could probably even apply it, it'd be a little harder to do it to email marketing, but to social and to paid social. And it's essentially three pillars or 3 buckets, right? So you always want to be thinking about growing your audience. So audience building is number 1. Number 2 is going to be engagement. And number 3 is going to be conversions. And it's important to understand that conversions is number 3 for a reason. When we don't operate from that perspective of, I want to be a good human, I want to add value, I want to show up, with transparency, I want to story tell, I want my brand to have a personality. If we don't start from that point, we tend to start straight at that conversion piece. So all of our social organic posts are buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Our ads, we only show up, buy my stuff. Like, there's nothing else, right? And so if you think those 3 buckets, audience building, engagement, and conversions, those 3 together, if you think of it, in a Venn diagram, the sweet spot is in the middle. So the first one is audience building, right? So audience building is going to be, and you know what, that's probably Amazon showing up at my house right now and the dogs are barking.
Serves you right. Serves me right.
Dang it. But
here's the video now.
Here it is. Like, with my little ring, I can show you. Look, there they are. So audience building is really important. This is if you look at the customer journey, so just Google customer journey, you can see everything. It typically starts at awareness and it ends at advocacy, somebody who's like a raving fan of yours. Well, in order to even start the customer journey, like, there's actually a point before it. Like, when people are unaware, like completely and utterly unaware, they're not in your ecosystem at all. So your social ads, your social posts, you want to have some that are very specifically designed to bring new people into your ecosystem. You have to, if you think about, use the analogy of a campfire. If you're not stoking the fire, if you're not putting wood on the fire is going to go out. And so audience building is incredibly, incredibly important. And most people overlook that, especially when it comes to paid social. It's very much overlooked on the paid social side, but it's crucial. But that's, getting new video viewers, getting new fans on your page, getting new people to engage with your stuff. That's audience building. Very, very important. So that's number 1.
So Traci, for you, so the way you look at it from a strategy wise is, okay, you have a store, but you're thinking kind of Facebook and Instagram first, right? So and I know audience can be a lot of places, but you're specifically talking about, like, start posting on your Facebook page, on your Instagram, whichever works better for your
start showing up, start putting some information out, show some behind the scenes, show some, history behind the company, show the, what makes you different. What's your unique selling proposition? Start showing that. Yep. Facebook and Instagram. And I get asked this question all the time. Like, should we go somewhere else? Should we jump ship to YouTube ads? And the answer is, depending upon how big you are. If you're just getting started, start with Facebook and Instagram. The world is still there. I don't care how many times Mark Zuckerberg bumps his head when he wakes up in the morning. It doesn't matter. It's still the best place from an e-commerce standpoint to build a brand. Once you start getting into scaling, then, depending upon what you're doing, we want to start talking about some other platforms. But Facebook and Instagram. So start posting.
Yep. Okay.
Start posting. From a paid social standpoint, this is a lot of newbies are not going to think to do this, but one way to do really good audience building on the cheap, if you will, is to have a video ad where you're testing out your targeting, you're trying to find the sweet spot of your audiences, where it's really designed not necessarily to sell, but to basically introduce what you do to some new people. And that's a way to start the audience building. And I could go down, a whole rabbit trail. I think the secret to a lot of our clients' successes, especially the ones that we've scaled from small to really big, has been the investment in audience building, which is very, very counterintuitive for a lot for It really is.
I mean, everyone's trying to sell things. So I'd imagine. So I have a question for you relating to that. So even though you're trying to build a new audience, the metrics that you're going for in Facebook. So are you basically referring to you would go for video views as opposed to going for conversions on your website when you place that ad, or?
Yeah, great question. Well, I mean, so in that, if I have a limited budget and I'm just getting started and I've got this great video that we've produced to kind of introduce people, to what we're doing, I'm probably going to run it as a video view campaign because, every objective in the Facebook platform, it is basically asking Facebook, hey, put this ad in front of people who are going to do this specific thing. So a conversion campaign is like, put this in front of people who are going to buy from me. Video view is put this in front of people who are going to watch this video. They're two very different things. And asking somebody to buy before they know anything about you, unless, you have a very impulse type product, you're going to start paying really expensive cost per conversions. It's not, Facebook is a place for discovery. It's not a place for intent. If you want to go intent based, go over to Google, right? Go over to Google and do that over there. So you'd run this video, you'd run it as a video view campaign. And essentially your goal is to get as many eyeballs as possible watching your video, because now what you're doing, you're getting cheap video views, and you can start building audiences of people who consumed your video, and you can retarget them with a conversion campaign. You don't want to, most people don't propose marriage on the first date. And yet we do that as marketers. We do that as e-commerce business owners. We do it all the time. And sometimes, it's good to test it, but it's almost always more expensive if you go out and you do it that way.
Yep. Makes perfect sense.
Make sense? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. And I think we've said that in different ways, and hopefully people are listening being like, all right, no, here's somebody else that said it in a slightly different way. Like, we didn't set this up before the podcast. Like, yeah, this is how you do it. You need to have an audience first, and it's cheaper to build an audience than it is to get that sale. But
tremendously,
of course you want the sale. This is all a way to get the sale, but you need to build an audience first.
You do. And if you're really, bootstrapping it and you're on a shoestring budget, I mean, you could take, a couple $100 a month and put a video view campaign together, and just really, while you're trying to get, your store straightened out, you're trying to get out, all this stuff, that you need to do to have a good conversion experience. You could be building audiences in the background while you're getting all that stuff together. Because so often I see people they're waiting until everything's perfect. And then by that point, they've spent so much money and they're so desperate for a sale, and they have no audiences to put it in front of, when they could have been using all that time. They could have just, slapped up a good video, put, 5, 10, 15, $20 a day on it, and they could have thousands of people that they could be retargeting to. So it's a huge thing to do. For sure.
Yeah. Now, when you say slap up a good video, are you talking like, for everybody out there listening, like, what sort of, do they have to have a fancy camera? Are you talking just pick up your phone and to make a video, and how much are you editing it? Like, I'm saying this to try to get people to pick up their phone and make a video. What do you need to do here to get this video going?
Well, look, money loves speed, right? So there, you can quote me on that one. Money loves speed. And so don't worry about being perfect. I think perfection sometimes in this business is the kiss of death, and overproduction can be the kiss of death. People spot that sort of thing. It doesn't blend into the news feed. We've got some clients that have very highly produced videos that do amazing. And then there's that one that they use their camera and the lighting was just okay, but it crushed it. So, and as a marketing professional, like, this is all we do. I can't tell you how many times that we think, oh my gosh, this is going to be the best thing ever. And it isn't, you just don't know what's going to perform, and you're better off just, if you've got a product that you're selling, turn the camera on, tell a story about it. If you've got a cool founder story, turn the camera on you, or, have your kid or your neighbor or a friend turn the camera on you. Just start telling the story. I mean, think about Shark Tank, right? Like that's what people love so much about Shark Tank. It's not just the negotiation, it's the story. People love the stories behind those entrepreneurs that come out that try to get funding. So, we don't want to lose sight of that we're running content on a social platform. And the reason you want to use, so a lot of people don't put money, they don't put ad dollars behind that type of content because it's not a conversion campaign, right? However, it's a mistake because what you're doing by putting some money behind it is you're amplifying it. And amplifying content is the fastest way that I know to build audiences quickly. That's how, one of our clients, when we started running their ads almost 5 years ago, their max budget was like $1,500 a month. And today it's $500,000 a month. And we spent the first probably 3 years really building audiences, creating engagement. We did a little bit of they were making money. Don't get me wrong. They didn't stick with us for that long if they weren't making money, but it wasn't to the degree that they are now.
Yeah.
So
it took some time. Yeah.
Yep. Took some time.
Yeah. And I love the idea of doing that while you're building out your store too, because it's kind of getting your voice out there. It's like almost, when Star Wars goes into a theater, back when we used to go to theaters, it's not like they just said it's in there and go today. Like there's wrapped buses and there's billboards and there's been ads on TV and they're building this anticipation.
The buzz, yeah.
A long time. Sometimes year prior to the launch. And a lot of people, even though I know this already, I keep forgetting sometimes that when you're doing an ad, it doesn't even matter. You could have one like. Your mom could only like your Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because
it doesn't.
They're not even there. Like it doesn't mean don't build that over time. Like of course you want to build that over time.
Right.
Because then you could retarget those people who like that page, and there's all kinds of different ways. So in these campaigns, after you do these and you're just going for video views, do you then remarket to the people who watch those videos, or how are you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So audience building, the way we look at audience building is it's a couple of things, right? So it's new fans, right? So maybe we're running depending upon your budget, you might be running a like campaign to get legitimate fans. And the worst advice I've ever heard given, and I just have to say this, is you don't want to run campaigns to get fans into cheap countries just so you look good. Like that will actually hurt you. That will hurt you long term. So whenever you run a like campaign, you actually want to run it to people who would actually be fans of your business. Like you want to run a legit like campaign. So new likes is audience building. So that could be new Instagram followers. That could be new Facebook fans. Video views is audience building. Engagement, post engagements, people commenting, liking, sharing, that's audience building. And then website traffic, people that click over. Because sometimes, if you have a limited budget, you may still put on that video in the text, the copy of your ad, you put the link to your website so they can go, if they want to go find out more, they can. So those four things, we constitute audience building. Any kind of ad that we can do that's ballooning up. We call that level 2 traffic. So level 1 traffic is people that have never heard of you. That's truly cold traffic, right? They don't know who you are. They know nothing about you. That's level 1. We measure long-term success for our clients by the growth between level 1 to level 2. And that's just what I said: video viewers, new fans, post engagers, website traffic. If we are constantly feeding that fire, we're going to have like an inferno down the road, which is what we all want, right? So anything that falls into that category, we can then retarget. And sometimes we retarget it right into a conversion campaign. Sometimes the customer journey is longer, depending upon the price of your product, right? Sometimes, I think about, oh my God, a great e-com business is Chili Pad. I don't know if you've heard of Chili Pad, or it's changed my life. A middle-aged woman gets hot at night when you sleep. So it's nice to have something, that can cool me down. And they're amazing e-commerce advertisers, but it's an expensive product. And so, there's that stage in between that in audience building, and they're not our client, although I wish they were, but there's a stage between audience building and conversions. And that's the engagement piece. How do you keep somebody engaged with you when they're not ready to buy yet? And so often we give up on, we think, our social post, it didn't sell 100 units, so it was a failure. It's like, no, not everybody's going to buy the first time they see it. In fact, it's like 2% of all people buy the first time. So, I used to run a division of AT&T back in the day, like pre-Facebook, and the sales team worked for me. And we had a rule. We knew that, people buy at 12 o'clock midnight, 12 o'clock noon. If I meet you and it's 1 p.m. and you're not going to buy until 12 o'clock, what do I have to do to get you there? And it used to be like the average of seven touches to get somebody to buy. And now it's like the average adult gets hit with over 400 marketing messages a day. So if you think that you're going to convert somebody on the first try, that wasn't possible 20 years ago, or rarely possible 20 years ago. It sure as heck isn't now. So, so you've got to have what we do is we actually build out advertising funnels, taking this whole customer journey based on the price of your product. ChiliPad, the reason I brought that up is because they are an expensive product. People typically don't buy right away. And so they do a masterful job of having engagement content along the way to keep, oh yeah, remember you want this, and oh yeah, you want this. And they use testimonials, and they use all these different strategies to get somebody like me that last year was like, I can't take it anymore. And I finally bought it, so
it worked on you.
Yeah, but it took months. It took months before I was willing to pay that, because it was, who pays $1,500 for a mattress pad? I still think, if it wasn't so amazing, I think I was nuts. So
that makes sense.
All makes sense,
Yeah, but it's a more expensive product. So like, yeah, if it's a $30 product, you probably don't need these multiple levels. Like people they're gonna make their decision and move on with their day. But yeah, with a more expensive product, they get introduced. So this is the second pillar of yours, the engagement.
Engagement, correct.
What type of videos or content is different from that first one? Like, how is it? What is the difference between that type of content?
So a lot of it's going to depend on the size of a company that you are, right? So, if we're talking a new startup, if you're smaller, it's probably going to be maybe part 2 to the first video. So maybe it's a follow-up. A lot of times that first level engagement or audience building video, it's often going to do double duty. It's going to be audience building and engagement together, right? Because that's just how it works. But a lot of times, if you have more budget, then your first video will be more brand. It'll be more, introducing the brand, positioning the brand, telling the brand story. And then the second video will be something that's a little bit more, a little bit further down the process. So now they've met the brand. Now it might be more problem solving. It might be more talking about the unique selling proposition. It might be solving, hitting some pain points and solving some problems. It's moving them to that next step in the customer journey. And, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, I love how many people are getting into entrepreneurism these days, or entrepreneurship, but most of us never studied business, and we don't even know what the customer journey is. You don't even know that there's like a consideration phase. You don't even know that these things happen. And so you don't even think about it when you're creating your social strategy. You're just trying to get people to buy from you. So sometimes you have to slow down and really think, like, what does it look like for somebody that now is aware of my product, but they don't think it's going to solve their problem, or they don't think it's going to meet their need? What information would I want to tell them at a cocktail party? Or what would I want to talk to them about if I could, to help them understand why they want to move to the next stage of the customer journey? And that's really, a lot of times, that's how we help our clients come up with what that content should look like. So it could be a video. We heavily do video ads, but sometimes it's blog posts. We try to hit people on all the different areas. Some people like to listen. Some people like to watch. Some people like to read. And so we try to have a good mix, again, if the budget permits it. If your budget doesn't permit it, stick with video. It's not gonna let you down.
Yeah. Okay.
So in that particular case, instead of going for video views, are you now switching the goal of that ad?
Yeah, again, it's gonna vary, but a lot of times we might want to now get a traffic campaign. We want them to click to the site. Like, we want to get them onto our shop. We want to get them looking at some stuff. And we might switch it up. A lot of times we'll test it, because sometimes we'll try to send people to the shop, but they're not ready yet. And so it's not really getting us the result we want. And so in that case, we might switch it back to a video view campaign, because we want those people to watch more. Sometimes we could do a reach campaign. So a reach campaign is essentially saying, Facebook, we want to reach as much of this audience as we can. And so maybe we're not necessarily trying to, we already know they watch videos because they watch the first one. Now we want to make sure we just get the message in front of them. We're not so much concerned about, do they watch it again? We just want to remind them of who we are. So, that's where an agency like ours, or having somebody in-house who really knows their stuff, can start to experiment to see what's going to move the needle at that stage. Because that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to guide them and lead them through that journey.
Got it. And I get, there's not like the perfect answer for all scenarios.
Yeah.
It depends is always the answer in marketing. I get it, but go ahead.
I mean, you just be thinking what you want the person to do. And I know ultimately we want them to buy, but sometimes sometimes your budget's not big enough, right? You have to have, the 50 conversions for the algorithm to really learn. And if you're not spending enough money, you're not going to get that. And you're not going to ever get the full power of the algorithm behind you. So you kind of have to think like, what do I want these people to do? Knowing that some are going to buy. Like our client that I mentioned already, that we scaled to 500,000 over the last 4 years a month in spend, we convert on like campaigns for them. It's crazy. So it can happen high up in the funnel, but sometimes it doesn't. And so you have to sort of, you have to have a plan for that whole process.
Yeah. Okay. Now we talked a little bit, we talked about audience, we talked about engagement, I believe was the second one. And now, we've been kind of hinting at it here. Like, this is the goal. We do want to sell stuff, So how do you shift up the, the different campaigns you've been working in? Again, it depends, but like, how do you get them to buy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a conversion campaign that's the fun, right? We all want to see the money come in and the cash register going. But this is now going to be way more product heavy. Typically, it's okay at the beginning, top of the funnel, to have more storytelling. But as you get further down the funnel, you get further down the process, you really need to be, your product's the hero. So that could be, sometimes we use video, sometimes, we'll use a 15-second video. If your product can be demonstrated, it depends on what your product is. We ran traffic for a while, for a supplement company, for a kid supplement company. And we did a lot with animated GIFs, showing, like the, no additives and non-GMO and, using an animated GIF to show the features of the product. Sometimes it's just the product image itself, a good, clear, large product image, a lot of times in lifestyle situations. So it's not just on the white product page, it's not something like that, but, and usually at that point, most of the time you are retargeting people who have been engaging with you at some point. And so there's got to be a compelling call to action for them to, whether you're using a coupon code to get somebody, on your email list so you can get them their first offer, whatever it is at that point, at the conversion campaign, it is what it is. It's conversions. And we can use all sorts of things. We could use all sorts of different creative assets. And, you can use dynamic product ads with your catalog. I mean, there's so many different ways to do conversions. I don't want to get too geeky because I will, but it's pretty simple. I mean, if you just really say, okay, look, I've got 3 things I need to do. I need to build my audiences. I need to engage with them. And then I need to ask them to buy. And if you think that way, it's going to dictate how you create content for your organic, and it's going to really help you get the most out of your paid social. It's huge. So
I have a question for you. Just real quick. Sorry, Jess, I'll forget this one. A lot of people have said the algorithm, if you're doing an organic post and then you have a link out to a website, they suppress that, as opposed to if you don't have the link out, maybe you're just talking about it in the video. Question one is, do you see that to be true? Have you seen that
from an organic standpoint?
Yeah, from organic.
I haven't seen that they suppress it. I mean, let's just be honest. Facebook wants you to keep people on Facebook. So they do reward that. I don't know that they suppress that necessarily.
Okay.
And we've got clients that post, links all the time.
Well, and the reason I'm asking that, if you see it in organic, is because no matter what, I could still imagine, since they get paid for ads, they probably don't care at all when it comes to the paid ad, or at least a lot less, right?
Yeah. No, not at all.
Maybe, thinking that out, maybe you're just going for likes. If you have your logo or you have something in there, maybe they look it up, maybe they don't, or you're just going for video views, in the beginning, and then maybe you're getting more engagement moving on. But when you're going, at least in I can imagine in any of those phases, if you have your link to your website, you could still end up, like you said, getting a conversion, even though you're not going for conversions.
Yes.
Because the link's in there. They thought that video was funny, whatever. They're clicking just to learn a little bit more about you. And who knows, if it's priced right and it's something they need, they might just get it right away. But if you're paying for it.
Yeah, put your link in. Absolutely. And that's, the bigger your budget gets, you're going to want to test taking it in, taking it out, things like that. But at the beginning, yeah, absolutely. It's, the thing is with your organic, if you're relying on organic only, and this is the biggest challenge, and I've been around for a while, right? There was a time where your business page would get a tremendous reach. You put up a post and people would see it, but it's very, very low. Our client that does $500,000 a month in ads, which is not the biggest e-commerce business out there by far, right? They have a 7% engagement rate on their page, and that's with over 1.5 million fans. So 7% of 1.5 million people see an organic post from them. If they only relied on organic, they would never have the sales volume that they have. So that's why it's, I think it's important to invest in paid social as soon as you possibly can, because you're going to accelerate your results, which is, what you're trying to do. You put all this money and effort and time into building your store. It's going to be a slow boat to get there if you just do it all organically. So,
and 7% is good.
7% is amazing.
Yes.
Like, amazing.
Yeah.
I probably didn't say that. 7% is like mind-boggling amazing.
I agree. Yeah. I don't want like you were downplaying it. Like, no, that is usually you're looking at maybe a 1% to 2% of the people who follow you, like you, actually see these posts. So you do have to pay at the end of the day. Like, Mark Zuckerberg, if you're listening, we're helping you out here. You do have to pay for social ads. That's sort of just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think going back to you had the three phases. The third phase, the conversion part. The thing that strikes me is that part is easy if you've done the initial steps, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've built the audience, which is probably the hardest part, you get them engaged, and now the conversion part, the behind the scenes is all the different remarketing. You're remarketing to video watchers, people who visited the site, people who are followers. These are all options that are hidden in the Facebook Ads Manager. But the conversion part that's the easy part. You just, here's the product, here's a price. Maybe it's a lifestyle shot. Maybe there's a coupon if you can afford the coupons. That's to get them to buy. But that was easy. You did all the hard work ahead of time.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's funny, when you're just getting started, people always ask, like, how should they manage their budget with this? Our big clients, the ones that they've got big budgets, they've got a lot behind them. We're running 80% of their budgets to audience building and engagement, and 20% to conversions. And so often when we take over a client that's been running 90% conversions and maybe 10% to the other two, it's usually bumpy. Like, I'm not going to lie. And I always tell them, I'm like, it's going to be bumpy for a little bit, because they don't like it. They don't like that shift. They want, the money coming in. But once we flip that and we really start just pumping up the number of people coming into their ecosystem on a regular basis, that's when we start to see magic begin to happen. And it takes a little while. But 80-20 is how we do it. Even for some of our smaller clients, if they can buy into our philosophy and hang in there with us. And, 2020, we turned 2 clients this entire year, which is insane. But that just goes to show that our methodology works. And most of our clients have been with us for, 3+ years. So it's, it really works.
Yeah, the 80-20, I get it, as I run the ads for Equid as well. Like, that's tough, because you really want to see these campaigns with these great cost per acquisition numbers at the end. But I can tell you that at Equid, on our Facebook advertising campaigns, there's a lot of campaigns that it's the first touch, the cold traffic, level 1, whatever you want to call it. The numbers are not good at all. I have to really just be like, ooh, those. But
nor should they be. Do you know what I mean? Like,
they're not going to be. Yeah.
We actually have key performance objectives for each stage of traffic. So the performance objective, the KPI on cold traffic should not be conversions. We shouldn't be judging its success on that. And it's hard when you're small. It really, really is. And that's the fun part for us when we work with a growing business, a growing e-com business, because we can start to educate them and help them understand what the KPIs are while they're making a profit, and then they can start making big company decisions with smaller budgets and get to that big company status faster.
Yep. Yeah. Look at the blended number, I guess. Well, we'll just remind everybody, look at the blended number.
Yeah. And cash flow is an issue, right? You've got to know your numbers. I can't tell you how many, e-com clients we work with. They don't know their lifetime value. They don't know their, cost per acquisition. They don't know. They just say, I want 3x ROAS. And it's like, okay, based on what, and yeah, we want 3x ROAS too. And I want to be 5'10" and 105 pounds, but like based on what? I don't mean to be disrespectful, but sometimes 3 or 5x ROAS is the wrong metric to determine the success of your business on top of funnel. So.
Yeah. And it kind of brings me back to that marriage analogy in the beginning. You even though you want the sale, quote unquote, let's just say, you don't want to sell them on marrying you. You want them to want to marry you, right? Like, you're not like, I'm going to twist your arm and you're going to marry me. Like, no, you're putting stuff out there like, wow, they're a good person. Back to the human conversation. They're funny. They care about people. They're doing good things. Like, wow. And then that probably, back to the way you're talking about the funnel, is what leads to, by the time you finally get to conversion, they already want you. They're wondering why you haven't asked already.
Yeah, what are you waiting on? We like to say that we're the ad funnels that we're architecting an intentional plan to get these people to fall in love with you. Like, we are intentionally architecting this process so that these prospects fall in love with your brand, because we're not just trying to get one sale. We're trying to get repeat sales. We're trying to get cross sells. We're trying to get, different categories that are on your store. Like, we're trying to take people from completely unaware to raving fans. And I think maybe the reason why we're so big on this is it comes back to my background, running a sales division. So I've got this unique position where I have a marketing degree. I run a marketing agency, but I have a sales background and I know sales psychology and how it works. And so our clients that can have the intestinal fortitude, if you will, to like say, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to make this happen. We're going to commit to this. We're going to have a big picture view of our business. And they reap the rewards. We see it over and over again. And it's fun. It's really fun. That's why I like talking strategy, because the strategy, tactics change, but strategy doesn't. So
yeah, very much so. And speaking of strategy, this podcast is going to probably be live in, we'll say, mid-October. So if everyone's listening to this live, they're like, yeah, it's mid-October. Hopefully Jesse was right with his schedule. This 2020 online shopping season is probably, there's a lot of projections out here. Like, this is going to be a big one. So for people out there listening, they already know about these 3 stages. What can we do to help kickstart them? Like, this is going to be a great year for e-com. So.
Yeah, it really is. I wish in a perfect world you were listening to this in September, because I would say, crank up your audience building budget. Really, truly. That's and it's not too late. Like, in October, it's not too late to do that. But I would definitely say, I would probably, our clients, if I look at how they have their budget, I'd say probably at least, 60% of their full year's budget gets spent in the final quarter. So keep in mind that it is going to be more competitive. It's going to be more expensive. Things are changing this year. So I would definitely, if your budget is limited, I would definitely go hard in audience building right now. If you don't have an audience building campaign up, get one up. Think this way. One of my favorite books, it's a classic, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Begin with the end in mind. Do you have a holiday bundle already decided? Like, what are you selling? Like, what's going to be your offer? And then back up. Okay, so that's where I want to send people to. Then what do they need to know to get to that point? And what might they need to know before that? And what are they thinking in their lives, or what's happening that could, make them want my solution, or whatever the product is? That's what you're going to create your video around, and get it up and put as much money as you possibly can build audiences from those video viewers, and then retarget the heck out of them, come holiday time. But that's what I would do. I would go hard on audience building and engagement. And if your budget is limited, just utilize that video campaign to do both, right? It doesn't have to be funny. You don't try to be like the next Poopery or, Squatty Potty, but, educate, demonstrate, inform, right? Those are important. Tell your story, tell those things, and put as much money as you possibly can. I would say, obviously you have to make good decisions. You have to steward your company money well. But I would definitely, it's kind of a do more than you're comfortable, I guess. I want to say put it all on black, but that's not fair. I would be wrong to tell you to do that, but definitely I would do more than you're comfortable. If you're comfortable with, putting $5,000 in, put 6.
Yeah. Makes sense. I like the extra push here. And I'm with you 100%. Like we've talked to a lot of different people. There's people are gearing up, right? Like this is going to be a big year. People don't want to go out and shop. They're still going to be buying presents. They still need, it's still the holidays. So
yeah, it is.
Be prepared. And ad prices were probably going to be a little expensive. So you're going to wish you had built this audience previously. So,
yeah. Well, and one thing, let me just add, if you feel like, gosh, I don't have the money this year. Like this has been a hard year for us. Like 2020 has not, we've been very fortunate. Most of our clients are in the creative spaces. So our clients have thrived this year. But if you're in a tough situation and you can't do that, I just want to encourage you, get a plan to run ads 24/7, 365. Because the biggest mistake that you can make is to not show up year round, not be building that audience, not be engaging with them, and then suddenly show up at the fourth quarter every year asking people to buy from you. It's not a good human, right? It's like, hey, look, I don't care about any of you until I want to make money from you. And I mean, we said at the beginning, none of us are here to, we're not in non-for-profit or ministry or whatever it is. Like we're in business. Show up. And I think that's really, really important. It breaks my heart when I see these e-commerce businesses that have huge budgets in the fourth quarter and then go radio silent for the next 9 months, because I think that's a huge mistake. And if we could help them build that consistency throughout the year, they would see some of the growth that some of our other clients would have. And then you wouldn't have the spikes that you probably are having with holiday sales. So.
Yeah. I mean, makes perfect sense. Don't launch your first advertising campaign on Black Friday. Like you're going to.
Oh my God, no. Don't do it on Black Friday. Save your money, go to Vegas, do something different.
Yeah. Like yes, that's the best time to advertise, but if you've already been doing it, I think that's another way of looking at it. So
that's a great point. Great point, Jesse.
Yeah. Awesome. So Richie, we've learned a lot here from Traci. I hope everybody listening has as well. Do you have any last questions here that you think we're missing? What else? What am I missing?
No, I don't really know if this would be a question, as more as a noticing what's been going on in the world, the environment we're in right now, learning from Traci right now, and kind of making a statement and seeing if she agrees with the statement. And that is keeping in mind that a lot of the people that are listening to the show are just getting started. And it might even seem like a lot to say $1,500 to some of these people. I would guess, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on, if while everyone else is going for conversions, don't sweat it. There's going to be so many people online this year. You're just getting started. You're hearing this in October. Just keep going for the video views. There's more people online. And if you're funny, and back to our comment a few minutes ago, put your link in there and maybe even do something zig when everyone else is zagging and say, you know what? We're just getting started. This is crazy in this world, everything that's going on. If you're interested, take a look. Here we are. We're trying to build it. And you know what I mean? Just like, don't overthink it too much. Just start doing the advertising and start at the top. Be human, recognize what's going on. Don't be afraid to say what's going on. Stand for something and put your link in there.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think that's bad advice at all. It's there's a lot of pressure on e-commerce business owners to just make, fourth quarter everything. And especially as we hear how this is probably going to be a record-breaking, e-commerce season. E-commerce is just going to continue to grow. This isn't going to get any better, right? And what do they say? Like, when's the best time to plant a tree? It's 50 years ago or today. So if you haven't been advertising, if you haven't been building audiences for the last 6 months or the last 12 months, don't sweat it. Start now. And if this isn't your year to go all in, with your ad budget, that's okay. Build your audiences. If your store's not perfected, if things aren't where it needs to be, or you're going to, roll out a whole new product line, who cares? Get the videos going with a link to your store and really focus on taking that cold traffic and turning them into that level 2, moving, building out those audiences. I mean, that is in our reporting to our clients. I have a specific tab that specifically shows the growth of level 2 traffic. How many people in this last week or this last month did we move from never heard about you to engaged with you on some level? And if that number is growing, we know long-term the health of the client's business is going to be really strong. So just don't put so much pressure on yourself. But if you're a big company and you haven't been putting as much in there as you need to, shame on you. Wake up, put some money in. Let's make it a good season.
Yeah.
So it's 2 different messages for 2 different people, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Traci, this has been great. Now, for people listening, if they are interested in hearing more from you, if they'd like to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so a couple ways. So I actually have a mini course. I have a 3 pillars mini course. It's a video. I walk you through the different, the 3 pillars, the audience building, the engagement, and the conversions with some worksheets. You can get that at my website, our agency website. It's divinesocial.com/Equid. That's ECWID, right? So you go there, you can get that link there. And then if you want to talk some more, so I'll do this because I know this audience and we work with e-commerce all the time. If you're running $3,000 or more in ads and you want me to look at your stuff to see how you might shift to this 3 pillars strategy, right? I don't want to look at it to give you the nitty gritty on whether or not your bid is correct, but how your strategy should shift. If you're running at least $3,000 or more in that, I'm happy to set up for your audience, you guys, especially because Richie was a listener of my show. I'm happy to do it, right? I'll do a 15-minute analysis. Like I'll go in, I'll walk you through where I think you can make some shifts. You can email my personal email me directly at traci@divinesocial.com. And I guess that would apply if you wanted to hire us too, or talk to us about hiring us. Just email me directly. That's the best way to do it.
All right. Yeah. Perfect. All right, guys. So now everybody listening, you have your next steps. Get working on the cold audiences. If you want to talk to Traci, you know how to get in hold of her. You know how there's the course. Richie, what else am I missing here?
That's it. I'm ready to get to work. Make some ads.
Let's do it.
Exactly. It's the holiday season 2020. We're gonna turn 2020 around. It has not been the best year, but the end of the year is gonna be fantastic. So, all right. Thanks very much, Traci.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
All right. Thanks very much.
Hey, this is Jesse and Rich. We want to let you know we really appreciate you listening.
We hope you find the tips we give you helpful for growing your business.
You can find all of our past episodes and a lot more useful stuff at equid.com/podcast.
And also, check us out on your favorite podcasting platform like Apple Podcast or Stitcher. And make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing.
Be sure to let us know what you think by rating and reviewing so we can serve you better.
So subscribe on your favorite platform.
And come join our community, check out the transcripts, or tell us why you would be a great guest at equid.com/podcast.